Okay, it's Thursday morning, Oshkosh 2025, and I'm headed over to the Sonex booth to talk about the exciting new Highwing. If you're not familiar with Sonex, they make a wide range of affordable, cool planes for experimental pilots. All their previous planes were low-wing designs, and they've been working on and just introduced a new high-wing design. So we're going to talk with Mark at Sonex and learn more about the Sonex Highwing. I'm here with Mark Schaible, owner and president of Sonex Aircraft. Hey, Mark.
Hey.
And Mark, I thought we'd just start with, you developed this airplane with a certain mission in mind.
Right.
Maybe describe the mission and then the overall performance.
Yeah, and so the mission is simply a Sonex with the wing on top. So
Okay.
really, it's people that want Sonex performance, maybe want a little bit more in terms of useful load and cabin space, which we offer. But they, don't want to crawl up on a wing. They want more accessibility. So that's really, a lot of people talk about how the airplane looks like a Whitman tailwind. That's very much on purpose.
That's a compliment, actually.
I think it's a compliment. It's, obviously we have close ties with Whit being here on the field and John Monette being really good friends with Steve through the years. Yeah, it's just all about aerobatic, fast, efficient cruising, quick handling, having fun. Also long cross country. The airplane, especially at speed, the controls stiffen up, and the airplane is a joy to fly.
Yeah. I think all your planes are aerobatic, right? So
they are. This is our first aircraft that is approved aerobatic with 2 people on board.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And so that's why you see the end plates on the airplane. We actually have a shorter span configuration for 2-place aerobatics.
When you wing, I'm just going to clarify, wingtips.
Wingtip. Yeah. And we haven't molded them yet. We'll be hot wiring plugs for them after the show, but they'll be 18-inch fiberglass tips for the full span configuration.
Okay. All right. So you'll have 2 different wingtips, and it'll be up to the builder to decide which one. Or you can change it along the way.
They'll get both.
Yeah. Okay.
Automatically in the kit. They're attached with piano hinge, and you just, with a pair of pliers, pull the hinge pins. So they're really quick and easy to change out between flights, depending on what that flight's mission is.
Okay. And just describe the general overall performance, cruise speed.
Yeah, I mean, early days in testing.
Yes.
But cruise so far, we're easily seeing true airspeeds of 160 miles an hour at 2,500 feet. Of course, this is a little bit of the larger horsepower end of the spectrum in terms of
we should describe
options.
the engine that's in it, right?
Yeah, this has the UL Power 350 IS, 130 horse, 4-cylinder. We generally think the horsepower range that is going to give good performance is going to be anywhere from 100 horsepower on up. So, this maybe some of the larger Rotaxes. I know there's people already talking about putting the 916 in it. Hey, if you got the money. Right now, what we're seeing is a really good indication. We actually don't quite have the right propeller on it. We need a couple more inches of pitch. So the speeds we're seeing now are actually going to improve a little bit.
Wow, nice.
Which is really good for the people that are going to be installing maybe a little bit slightly smaller engine. Talking to a lot of people this week and reminding them that the Jabiru 3300 is extremely popular in the Sonex fleet. And even with everything going on in the world today, their price is only about $24,900.
Wow.
For 120 horsepower in an engine that is really well hashed out and refined and proven in terms of the installation in the Sonex fleet.
Okay.
So that's a fantastic option. The UL Power engine, I can't say enough good things about it. I mean, we've had a great experience with it. One of the reasons that we've gotten, this close to the show, that we've able to get so many numbers in so few hours, is that we haven't had to screw with the engine at all.
Yeah, that's nice.
The cooling has been amazing. I mean, we barely touched 300 degrees in terms of cylinder head temperatures. Usually it's a little bit less, and the oil cooler is behaving, and it's just been great.
That's awesome. What will be the next engine that you'll put in your next test mule?
So our Trigear will be the next airplane that we build starting right after the show here, and we'll be putting a Rotax in it. I've been talking to Rotax.
912.
No, it'll be a 915.
Oh, well, 915. Yeah. Okay, well, there you go. See, you're leading everybody to the water here.
Yeah, right, absolutely. And Rotax had an engine, a loaner engine that they actually brought to the show.
Nice.
And just said, hey, it's here if you want it. And so it'll be good. We've already worked through 912 installations in the fleet, and so this will be a new a new talent.
The engineering
you know.
exercise. Yeah.
So, but we've got, especially with Cooper Aircraft Corporation in Arizona, we have a really good handle on the Rotax installations, and of course we get great support from Nino and the folks at Rotax
Yeah.
in these development phases. So
Awesome.
we're looking forward to it.
One of the big things I think in the design is the increased cabin and cabin space from your previous planes.
Yeah.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about how big it is. And
Yeah, so at the fuselage joint between the forward fuselage and the tail cone, basically at your shoulders, it's 42 inches wide on the inside of the cabin. So a Sonex, like a B model, for instance, is 40 inches wide. So and that's on the outside. It's quite an improvement. Two full-grown adults can sit in there, and they're not really touching shoulders, or maybe barely touching shoulders.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. The wing and the seat are moved about 2 inches further aft from the firewall versus the Sonic. That's obviously when you design an airplane, you got to lay out everything in terms of CG and the moments and everything. And so that also gives the pilot quite a bit more space. The seat has a lot of adjustment in it, so it's not just the seat back that has the typical Vans
right.
bracket in there.
Yeah.
You can adjust the seat back. So we have that, but also at the seat bottom where it hinges, there are two positions, 2 inches apart from each other. So you can have it either all the way back, or you can move it 2 inches forward, and you can easily do it between flights. A lot of flexibility there to fit pilots of varying sizes. I had a guy this week that was 6'5", that got in the airplane, and he was super happy with how he fit.
All right.
Now, of course, that's not guaranteed for everybody,
Sure.
especially if you're disproportionate in terms of super long legs or super long torso. You really got to try it on.
Yeah.
If you're that tall, you got to come and sit in it. You know?
In fact, you've had so many people trying it on. We had to meet here first thing in the morning in order to get a chance to take a look at the plane.
Get a little bit busy to get any quiet time around the airplane for you to film.
Now let's have Mark walk us through a deep dive on the interior of the plane.
We have a lot of really adjustable seat options. As I was talking about, we have the typical adjustable seat back positions, and of course we fold down for the baggage. Baggage compartment goes all the way back to this bulkhead station here, and depending on how you're loading the seats, primarily, you can get upwards of 85 or 90 pounds in the baggage compartment.
Wow.
With fuel burn. There's actually our weight and balance of the current weight and balance of this airplane is on our website on our latest post, and you can play with it.
Right.
And
Okay.
See what you get. Obviously, when we get the full span wingtips on it, and we get the aux tanks, the molds are being made right now. So when we get the aux tanks installed, we'll have a new weight and balance that we'll publish, so you can see sort of the full final weight and balance. But these are really close to the CG. They're not going to have much impact. So in addition to the folding seats, you'll notice at the bottom we have the two different hinge position. So that's in the rear position right now. You could move up 2 inches forward if you have someone who's really short, and they can fit just fine. We also have two different thickness cushions in here. So this being the thicker one. So we'll either have options in the upholstery to buy a thicker cushion, or maybe to have an add-on booster that you can put. This is the stick arrangement that I was talking about. So we have 3 different receptacles that are always in the airplane, and you choose whether you want the center stick in the cockpit, or whether you want a stick for each pilot, or maybe you only want a stick on the left side, all depending on what you're doing that particular day.
Right.
The sticks just plug in easily, like
Nice.
so,
Yeah.
and they screw down. They do have to be tightened, so we'll probably have a little laser cut aluminum stick wrench that you can just put in a door pocket, just so you can make sure there's no free play,
Right.
in the system. And we may even refine this a little bit to make it even easier. So we'll see. It's working pretty well right now with the threaded nut. So that's really nice. So for folks who really want the stick in the traditional between the legs location, they don't want to have to swing their leg over it. They can just pull it out, get in the airplane, they're in, put it back in, tighten it down.
Nice.
Of course, connect the connectors for push to talk and elevator trim. We do have electric elevator trim on this, just right on the stick there.
Very nice.
This does have electric flaps. The actuator is up there to your right. So we flaps down to 30 degrees. There's 72-inch flap skins on each side, so they're quite large barn door flaps, just like the Sonex. They're very effective for slowing you down and getting down on the ground. And
What is landing speed?
Landing speed. We've been landing a little fast in flight tests, as you always do in early days. But we're stalling right around 46 miles an hour with flaps, so our landing speeds will continue to come down closer and closer to that range. So we're if you look at our video, like for instance, we did a wheel landing on one of our pilots' first flights in the airplane.
Okay.
Just being conservative. And obviously, he did a really nice job. The airplane kept tracking straight down the runway.
Right.
And that was maybe a 60-mile-an-hour touchdown.
Okay.
Or maybe a little less. Obviously, the slower you fly it, it's just like a Sonex. Sometimes the slower you fly it, the slower you land it, the easier it is to land. The airplane has really, relatively low stall speeds, really gentle, nice stall speed handling or slow speed handling.
Very nice. And I assume this is going to stay, so you have the open at the top.
Yeah, we have the skylights,
right,
back windows, so it's nice and bright and airy in the cockpit, and lots of visibility for scanning for traffic. You can see some of the mechanism here for the aileron system. So everything is push rods and a couple of torque tubes.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, being an aerobatic airplane, we didn't want cables and pulleys for the aileron system, and of course push rod for the elevator as well.
Nice. Yeah. So you mentioned wing tanks. So talk a little bit about what's the fuel capacity, and then what's your plan for the wing tank?
Yeah, right now this airplane sits as a 20-gallon fuel capacity using our standard B model 20-gallon header tank. All of our fuel tanks are rotationally molded cross-linked polyethylene. So all the advantages of Piper Cub with none of the safety disadvantages of having the tank in that header tank location.
Okay. 20
gallons in the header, and then we have 5 gallons on each side for just gravity feed into the main tank when you have room available as you burn fuel. So a total of 30 gallons available in the airplane.
Okay.
5 gallons on each side plus the 20 gallons. We have a total of 30 gallons available.
All right, cool. And then I noticed a dynon panel in here, and you mentioned MGL as well. Are you going to have panel kits that are already pre-wired and everything, or what's your...
Well, that'll come with time. We're definitely talking to Dynon about getting stuff together for their instrumentation and along those lines, having them be able to do panel builds, and we can cut panels for people if they have their layout figured out. So all of that will be coming. Obviously, this is on the higher cost end of what you would put in a simple airplane like this. It's honestly way more than you need, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so you could go, at the high end with something like this, or again at the very economical end with something like the MGL Blaze singles, which is just basically 2 round digital instruments for flight data and engine data.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Keep it simple and light and really economical.
Let's take it back outside, continue our discussion of the high wing features.
I noticed some of the design flares, like the door hinges. Maybe talk a little bit about what you were doing on the door hinges.
Yeah, so the concept with the door hinges is that for ease of accessibility, we have a really nice big door, decent sized footwell as far as getting your legs and your feet in and out, especially if you have a little bit limited mobility. So we wanted a door that swung out a fair distance, where the front of the door was not getting in the way of your feet. The other thing is that for the 2-place aerobatic mission, it was important to us to have the door hinges on the inside of the cab. That way we can have a door jettison feature, which we'll be refining as we get closer to more aerobatic testing in the airplane, without having all the junk hanging outside like a 150 Aerobat, or where you have everything exterior. So it keeps it nice and streamlined, and the hinges look kind of cool.
They do look cool.
You'll see that with the hinge pins on the inside, the hinge itself creates its own stop. against the mount and the fuselage, and it's really robust.
Nice.
So you don't really have to worry too much. You noticed here this week, even with a little bit of wind, we have the doors unlatched and open for people to just look at the airplane.
Right.
And we're not overly concerned unless we get a really big wind blowing through. Yeah, they look cool. I think some people are gonna probably paint their airplane and maybe just polish the door
I think so.
handles.
I think they look awesome.
Yeah, it gives it kind of a classic look.
The wing is a little forward of the canopy. Can you kind of talk about that? Because
Yeah,
it
so
gives it a really interesting look.
Yeah, on this airplane, it's not a canopy, it's just a windshield.
Or windshield, I'm sorry.
So the windshield, the wing joint, has been the subject of some discussion online. Some people call it the unibrow, which is not real flattering. I think it gives it kind of a classic look.
I do too.
A lot of people question the drag component of the intersection, and just look at the net, just look at the numbers, look at the airspeed. It's not a factor.
Yeah.
The airplane is really quick and slippery and efficient the way it is. It makes.
So you didn't design it that way on purpose. It just kind of ended that way in order to get the right balance of seat.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously we did everything on purpose.
Well, I mean,
but
you weren't looking for a certain look and decided to put the wing a little forward. You did it because of the design.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The wing had to be where it had to be.
Right.
And we wanted to retain the Sonex sort of profile of the nose, and because we know that's low drag, and it's also an aesthetic thing. I really didn't want to have to cut the wing roots back in the leading edge like a tailwind or maybe a high wing zenith. It's just more complication. It's not my favorite aesthetically. I'm sure I can agree to disagree with some people that don't like how this looks, but it's kind of like a Helio Courier. It really simplifies the windshield installation, and it keeps it a much more simple, inexpensive windshield.
Which is the Sonex, way, basically.
Yeah, and also for just the structure of the wing. We're cantilevered wing. We have a carry-through spar, and keeping that D-tube section of the leading edge intact, it really contributes and enhances the structural capability of the airplane as well.
All right.
So yeah, it's I like the windshield. I don't care what anybody says.
And you've been flying it, obviously.
Yep.
How's the tailwheel handling? How do you find it? How does it handle?
Great. So you'll notice all of our tail dragger airplanes are fairly low to the ground, and they have a very shallow deck attitude sitting on the ground, and that really contributes to gentle, easy tailwheel handling characteristics. So it's a great airplane for lower time tailwheel pilots. Maybe too much to hope for, but the fleet is contributing to not having the tailwheel insurance rates go maybe up any higher.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, insurance companies don't like tail draggers too much.
Right.
But really, the Sonex has a great reputation of being a very nice handling tailwheel airplane. In general, I mean, I can't remember the last time I ever heard of anybody ground looping a Sonex. It basically doesn't have. The tailwheel is direct steering, so it's not there's no springs in the tailwheel steering, so you're not behind. It's not like having bungees attached to your feet.
Right.
Right. So you have direct feedback on the steering.
Okay.
On the ground. So yeah, it just works out. And also, the height off the ground was, that you have here in the Sonex, we wanted to keep the same for the Highwing. Again, for accessibility. It's like getting into a car, and that's really what we wanted. And that's what we have in the stick configuration too. We have the modular stick. Basically 3 different positions where you can have the control sticks, and a lot of people that especially of maybe a limited mobility are going to either always have the stick in the center of the cockpit and then they're not climbing over it, or you could even get in the airplane and then put the stick in between your legs if you'd rather have you prefer that position for the control stick.
Okay.
Really modular and accessible and adaptable.
Again, another tailwind kind of.
Yeah.
Flair,
Tailwind
has
has
the stick in the
a
middle.
sort of, I'll call it throw over stick.
Well, Steve was kind of famous for that. It's
Yeah.
just a great example of his engineering.
Yeah, kind of like a Robinson helicopter has today, And, it's funny because those really cool design features in some airplanes, you as a designer and a marketer in today's world, you have to use a little bit of discretion about how unconventional do you get.
Right.
Because when you get in a situation where somebody looks at something and goes, I don't want to build that. I have no interest in that, even though it might be great.
Right.
So I mean, obviously there's a lot of that in the Sonex. We stick with smaller tires. We put wheel pants on a high wing.
Oh my God, wheel pants on a highway?
Yeah, right.
Who would do that?
It's obviously not designed to be a bush plane.
Right.
You know, there are tons of other kits out there that do that really well. Kit Fox, you've got the S20, you've got Rands and the S21. If you have a gazillion dollars, you can build an RV-15. You know, and that's just not the mission of the airplane. I'm sure somebody will put big tires on this airplane, and that's fine. It's experimental. Do what you want.
Speaking of pricing, what I know the plane's not finished yet. Are you quoting a price? Or
Yeah, we have all of our pricing published. We are accepting orders. We have a number of pre-orders already. And because we've been able to get such quality flight test numbers in a short amount of time, and we know at this point that there's no major changes required to the airframe or really much of anything, nothing major, little tiny tweaks from here, we're ready to take orders. So the full kit price is $39,000. Of course, we have sub kits. So tail kits, I think, are $25.20.
you can slowly work your way in, or just get the whole kit.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you add an engine and avionics, right?
Right.
Engine, propeller, and avionics.
Right, yeah, and upholstery.
And upholstery, okay.
Yeah. So if you look at our cost worksheet that we have on our website and the flyers for the Highwing, if you do an Aerobatic turbo, which is 100 horse, and it costs $15,000 from us, to a kind of the basic DAVFR MGL avionics package. You know, handheld radio, wires to your headset, use your cell phone for GPS. You know, you can build the airplane for about $61,000. So yeah, the budget worksheet we have is a really great tool, because you can, you know, replace certain line items with the pricing of other equipment that you want, and kind of get a good idea of roughly what the airplane will cost.
Yeah, sounds great. I read somewhere that you have over 70 pre-orders already, and that was
Yeah.
before the show.
Right.
So I'm sure it's gone up since.
Yeah, I think now we're up to about 76.
Wow. Awesome.
And some people starting to put in full orders for tail kits, and even a couple of full kits. You know, it's early days in flight testing, so, you know, we're not, you know, we're opening up full orders, and we know that those are going to come in a little bit more over time as we continue to release flight testing data and get more time on the airplane. But yeah, I mean, the big thing is, at this point, we want to get inventory to start moving and get materials into our warehouse, and start getting skins cut and that sort of thing, so that we can, you know, really start to ship in earnest at the year end.
Okay.
As we're planning.
So full production year end, is that when
Year
you
end, yep.
expect to have a finalized design and ready to go?
Oh, I mean, the design will be finalized way before then.
Oh, okay.
But you know, it's basically finalized now, except for maybe a few bits and bobs, as our UK friends would say.
It was great to spend a little time with Mark hearing how they designed this platform. Now let's close it up with
Choose your own adventure.
Hey, Mark, thank you very much for spending the time with us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you've been really busy here at the show, so thanks.
Yeah. Busy is good.
As you saw and heard, a lot of engineering and hard work went into making this airplane very capable, highly configurable, yet simple. It is clear that the Sonex Highwing will proudly carry forward the Sonex tradition to an exciting new form factor. Thanks for watching this deep dive with the Sonex president and owner, and thank you for following along on yet another Silva adventure. I have a number of videos from Oshkosh AirVenture 2025, where you may want to check out some of the pilot interviews and cool plane reviews that I published in the past. Please subscribe and ring the bell icon to be notified when a new Silva adventure video is published. Thank you.